But anyway, I'll take us over the game. And we've got, HappySmurf on the top side, Samajestay on the bottom side, so I'll run you through them. So, Samajestay here is him, the blue Babylonian player today. And, ooh, that's going to cost him a little bit. He's actually got a villager just idling there while he's scouting out, so he hasn't noticed that. So he's actually only gathering off the 3 villagers at this stage. Soon to be still 3. Oh, here we go. So he's microing them onto something. Now he's realised. So... meanwhile, top side, our red player, HappySmurf. He's not going to like this. I've accidentally given him red. He will not be happy. He'll be furious. He will be blue in the face about this. Anyway, so Happy has found 2 hunts. Samajestay has found 2 hunts. Both actually found a couple of gold mines as well. Happy going for an early barracks. Samajestay also going for an early barracks. Although, I'm surprised he can afford everything at this stage because he was only gathering off the 3 villagers. In fact, he's managed to get enough out here. He's actually had full villager production, so he's just a bit behind on the wood. He's going to be a little bit. He's going to get the ox cart, but probably a villager later than he'd like. He's up to 4 villagers. Here we go. So he's actually doing a good job here at actually microing midway between the production time, so he's not going to miss. He's not going to have any huge travel time while he waits for the ox cart to get there. Everything's going to be all in one piece, so that's actually quite nice. He's very proactive around his villagers. Now that he's stuffed up at the start, he's going to be anal about that for the rest of the game. He's going to make sure he misses no villager production now, and I think it's going to be hard for Happy. That little stuff up from Samajestay is probably going to give him the inspiration he needs to really work quite hard this game. Happy's going to beat him with the spearmen, but and they are another 60 cost spearmen, the Greek spearmen, but they actually do have, what was it, 10 health less? Yeah, 10 health less. But otherwise, they're pretty much the same stats other than 10 health less. No, 20 health less actually. Babs OP. Nah, I'm sure there's a reason. Actually, Greek spearmen, oh, they both take 12 seconds. But Greeks can take an upgrade in age 2. Oh no, that's an age 3 upgrade. Sorry, I take that back. For train time. So, anyway, if it weren't for these wolves, Happy's little wolves here, this would actually be a bit of an uphill battle for him. But Samajestay, having come in one at a time, he's going to throw away the first spearman accidentally. Going to pull back the second. And he's not got anything in production here, so I take back what I said earlier. I've cursed him. I've given him the commentator's curse. Samajestay not actually producing any villagers, actually over gathering a little bit of stone, a little bit of wood at this stage. And he is going to need to force out a house. Happy's already taken his first house and is throwing up his second. Probably doesn't need the second villager there on that. But yeah, he got a spear for free out of that. So Happy's actually in a really nice spot right now. Production is 14 to 15 villagers, but that's less an ox cart. Actually, less 2 ox carts. How many ox carts? Yeah, Samajestay's got 2. So Happy's actually up by a villager at this stage. And he's got the biggest spear number. The 60 health difference between these two groups of units, like 1 to 1, it's not going to matter because there's an extra spear there. So as long as Happy doesn't throw these away, he can actually take a good fight here and potentially force Samajestay off this hunt. So this is really good for him. He just needs to back out before taking any town center shots, and this is a wonderful fight for him. He can even bring in the scout. Samajestay has another spear out though, so this is where things can get a bit dicey for Happy. But he's going to continue to just micro around here. Probably does need to produce another spear. Might even... oh, he's going to mind game Samajestay into potentially overstaying there, but not fast enough to try and turn that one around. Perhaps my bad, because I am a laggy Aussie caster. But Happy already up to another hunt there. Samajestay having to pull onto a second hunt anyway. He sort of isn't going to want to contest these 3 deer with his villagers there, because all it takes is for Happy to focus down the villagers instead of the spears, and he can actually deal a reasonable amount of economic damage to his opponent. But if Happy just needs to catch this, because it's a big group of villagers idle right now, he's moving them on now. So ideally, guys, you want to be proactive about that. When you know you're down to the last 1 or last 2 deer, you can actually shift click onto the deer and then onto the next deer, and it means that your villagers, as soon as they finish up that first one you shift click, they'll move on to the next, and once they finish that, then the third, and so to speak, and so on and so forth. So You go and do that, and you save yourself all of that idle time there that a lot of players, even up to about the mid-level, actually have. So you cut that out of your build completely and everything starts to run a bit more seamlessly. You can force out production a little bit quicker because you can actually have one less villager on your food because you're getting it more consistently. You can get a bit more wood instead and yeah, force out more buildings. Maybe even gather the stone, get the quick second town center. Samajestay is actually getting his quite quickly here. Nice to see, just on 5.5 minutes. Happy still just having to get the stone for his. He's got H2 in queue now, but he's gonna perhaps float a bit too much resources than he'd like to. He's gonna get all the way up to about 800 gold before he's gonna have that town center at this rate. So that's not gonna be great for him because he's gonna have a hard time spending that much gold. First off, the one resource you want to bank going into age 2 is probably wood. Age 3 and 4, it sort of makes sense to have a big gold bank because there's actually going to be a large number of upgrades other than Spearman Champion that you're going to want to take that are going to be purely gold based cost. But yeah, basically you're only going to have one gold only upgrade in age 2 to worry about, so you're pretty much best off more worrying about a big bank of wood because you are going to want to skyrocket your production facilities in age 2 off that second town center. Even floating about 200 food, 300 food is often nice, but just because you can continue to boom straight out of your town centers, keep up barracks production, maybe even throw up a second or a stables off a low villager number and not be too worried about it. So we see pharmacology finishing up there for Samajestay, so he gets his cool glowing effect on his low health units. So they're slowly regenerating, so the more Happy sort of delays in taking fights against groups of units that have already been damaged, the more it's going to hurt him. At the same time, he's going to want to get a good number of Toxotes out, get some Hypaspis out to just deny any of these Spearmen, and then get some more Spearmen himself, because Samajestay is no doubt going to want to be going for a large number of Lancers, because if he can get them, he can deal a lot of damage with them. He was actually just looking at this, and like I said, because he didn't shift click them onto the next group, they're sitting here idle. He's actually just been looking at them. Now they're idle, about 2 seconds later, and he's not gathering any food. So here we go, he's just moving them now. It took about 10 seconds for me to actually talk all that through. And that's just one of those little things, guys. If you can work on that, your macro can be really schmick. You know, it's just one of those things that you've got to keep an eye on. It's like taking buildings and then not having them producing anything. If you can avoid things like that, then great, basically. Because Samajestay can actually continue to produce out of both town centers here. And he's not actually producing villages out of the second one. He's got 3 in production out of this first. He's not population capped, so yeah, he could be producing out of both of these at the moment, and he's not. He's only really producing out of these. HappySmurf in the meanwhile, same deal. He's not producing out of any villages out of this at the moment. He's got the food too. He's got all of his production facilities except that archery range pumping, but yeah, he really needs to keep up his villager production in this stage, and also pull these villagers on to actually get this town center up as quickly as possible if he has to. And these Lancers have already done a good job of holding back Happy, because he's down by 15 pop now. And they're actually focusing the Hypaspis. Although losing both the Lancers for that, they're 110 resource units, so that's a 220 investment that Samajestay's just made then, so perhaps it mightn't have been worth quite as much as I thought initially, but he's up by 13 villages at this stage, less his ox carts, so how many has he got? 4, so he's up by 9 villages, and that means that he's actually starting to get the ball rolling in an age 2 economy, whereas Happy is still largely playing off an age 1 eco, so to speak, just because... Oh, actually, sorry. Yeah, Happy's still largely only playing off the 1 eco, but Samajestay somehow is doing this while only producing out of 1 town center. But yeah, Happy, being that far behind in the villager count, yeah, is gonna be a little bit worse for wear here, because Samajestay can throw away this fight, and he's really got the resources in the bank to not have to worry about this too much. But he just needs to focus down the Toxotes and the Hypaspis here. But he doesn't really have the Lancer count to be able to do this. He's sort of throwing his units away at this stage, I think. Happy's going to be able to clean this up reasonably quickly. This Lancer might get a kill or two, though, of his villagers, so Happy really needs to keep his villager production up. He's banked up a lot of gold, but not producing any villagers. He's not gathering any... He's gathering off 3 food villages, so that's going to be really tough for him right now. He's only got He's got no villagers in production. He's cleaning up the army though, so he's managed to really wipe out all of Samajestay's spears, and because there was just not enough lancers to really be able to deal with any Hypaspis there. The spears of Samajestay's pretty much went straight in on the Hypaspis and the Toxotes and died when you really need the lancers to attack them, and then need the spears to fight the Greek spears. Because otherwise, it's just not a winnable trade for the Babylonian player, and he needed to probably get on the bowman himself first. Maybe even look at switching to shield bearers, just because they are a little bit more disposable of a unit, and they do get a good defensive bonus against the bowman against the Toxotes once they do get out in good numbers. So something to keep in mind. There's a villager in this group, which is interesting. A peace offering, perhaps. A bunch of rock. Oh, she's ready to fight. She is ready to fight. Oh, she's going to get out too. Oh, no, perhaps not. So both players taking a really not that great fight in Age 2. Samajestay actually trying to send a couple of lancers in again. See what damage you can deal. You can delay. Yeah, and that's a big worker pool, guys. You don't want to be pulling off any more workers than you really need to. And they're all standing there idle now, which isn't great. They're going to still take some hits. So Samajestay is prepping himself to be able to go in again for another push. HappySmurf still on 24 villagers to 50 from Samajestay now. So Samajestay now at double the villager count, double the economy effectively. And there's no spears to actually stop this. There's only a couple of Hypaspis. And all the Toxotes are going to go down really, really quickly here, I think. Happy's only producing villagers out of 1 TC himself. Samajestay still only producing out of 1 TC, I think. Not actually building any villagers out of the 2nd TC. Still got a bunch of villagers idle there at one of the stables. So both of these players not with the greatest of economies behind these fights today. And HappySmurf does tap out eventually, so it's 26 villagers to 51 in the end, and GG, guys. So let's have a bit of a look at the villagers trained. So a couple of big blips in Happy's villager production. Samajestay, pretty consistent with building them out of the one town centre, but he never really figured out he had a second town centre built there, I don't think. Or that he figured out to actually add it to the next control group. But GG, guys, well played. It's a good one to actually cast and watch. It's been fun to sit through all the games today. They've all been pretty quick games, which is always good. It honestly, it's annoying when games drag on unless there's constant fighting. So it's been good because it's just been jam-packed with action, and then someone taps out. So yeah, guys, been fun, and we'll see you next weekend. I'll get some more games organised because basically we've had a player drop out this round. They've missed both last and this round, so that's yesterday and today. What I'm going to do next week is basically organise so that all our players that would have played against that player are going to play off amongst themselves another game each, so that basically, we've had them all play 4 games. But anyway, GG, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.